Welcome to this episode of the Architects of Destiny podcast, during which we'll explore what it takes for you to shift into your highest timeline of abundance. We're going to explore different energetic secrets of manifestations that nobody else teaches, the missing pieces of the puzzle that unfortunately mean that for most people, manifestations don't come true. We are going to explore what you can do in order to actually manifest or create the highest abundance trajectory. You also hear about galactic upgrades available for you to shift into abundance, which is totally off the scale.
And it's all about control your energy and you will control your reality. So within this video, you're going to get some concrete stuff that you can take away today and start to change your life for the better. Welcome to the Architects of Destiny podcast, where we bring together wisdom from galactic star nations, as well as very down-to-earth practical insights to accelerate your energetic mastery and spiritual growth trajectory. Tune in to receive the energetic tools you need to step into your divine role as an architect of destiny, to create the life of your desires and co-create the new earth that we can all be proud of. So first of all, I want to start talking and explain to you what is a timeline. So you might have heard of lots of people talking on social media about timelines, and it might sound a bit mystical, and you might be
timeline, yeah.
You might be a bit confused. But if we can put some context on timelines and get you, it's not as complicated as you think. So think of a timeline as trajectory. Okay. So basically, as we move through reality, everything from this point onwards is a choice point, isn't it? And depending on the choice, depends on the trajectory of where you're heading to. And so, this is, the butterfly effect, for instance, if you were to look into that. But literally, think of a timeline as a trajectory for your life.
I think trajectory is a more fortunate term for that, because timelines sound a little bit complicated. Although we could go to the whole rabbit hole of oversoul templates and quantum jumping, this is not going to be the subject of today's quantum conversation, because today we really want to nail down very concrete, very simple techniques that anybody can implement, no matter what your level of consciousness development is, to actually bring about practical changes to your life. And if we've defined trajectory, let's also define abundance, because this term also is like a bit of a buzzword that starts meaning everything and nothing. So I think if you really want to think about abundance, I would like to think in terms of happiness, because if we just think about abundance in terms of lots of money, then that's not really fully abundant, because if that was the case, then, money would be buying happiness. But we kind of know it's not exactly always true.
Think of it in terms, I like analogies, so I'm going to paint a picture for you here, and it'll be really easy to understand in relation to this, and what actually goes into happiness. So your highest trajectory or timeline is your happiest timeline, okay? But in order for you to be happy, you don't just have one ingredient. So think of happiness as a cake, okay? And think of money as an egg or flour, one of the ingredients. Now, can you make a Victoria sponge cake from an egg on its own, which is the money? You can't, can you? You need the flour, you need the sugar, you need the jam, the cream, all this kind of stuff that goes into a Victoria sponge or any other recipe. There's likely 10 to 15 different ingredients, depending, maybe if you were making a Thanksgiving dinner, there might be more. Depends how much garlic and rosemary you put in your gravy, isn't it? But you get the point. So within a recipe, there's lots of different ingredients, isn't there?
And we don't want to dismiss money, because it's an
That's
important
a part of it. Well, you can't make a Victoria sponge without an egg, can you? So,
I don't make Victoria.
Well, any kind of cake. But I would say that, money is a part of any person's highest timeline, because money is choices, isn't it? Money gives you, money supports you, and money enables you to do things. It brings you choices in life, so therefore freedom. So, money is an aspect of it, but there's also all kinds of things like relationships, there's health, there's expression, there's all number of things that go into this overall delicious dish of happiness.
So we're going to take a holistic approach and look at all aspects of abundance, not just the financial abundance, but also abundance of health, vitality, happy, harmonious relationship, satisfaction, overall satisfaction from the contribution you're bringing to this world. Because I think that a lot of us for years, sometimes decades, trying to figure out what we're here for, what is our purpose. And the sense of purpose also is one of the ingredients in this abundance cake. So with this being said and out of the way, the highest timeline of abundance is the potential for you to live the life of your dreams. I think that's a simple definition. And well, now comes the important part. How do we get there?
Exactly. So you have to control energy to control your reality. It's that simple. The technical sort of the technicality or the complex thing is, how do we change our energy? The principle is very simple, and it follows the path of as follows. And if you think that your happiest, highest timeline or trajectory, that will have a frequency signature attached to it, okay? You are a perfect match for whatever you have within your life right now. You're in perfect resonance with it. Whatever is in your reality has an energetic signature. You are in perfect resonance with it. Because the universe is magnetized to that you. So you're a match for your reality. If you want to change your reality, you have to change your energetic signature to match and come in resonance with whatever it is that you're trying to call in. So this is probably why it links us in nicely, really, to talk about why manifestations don't work, really, isn't it?
Absolutely, because what you have to understand is that what makes up this energetic signature, and by energetic signature we mean the frequency, the resonance that is literally oozing out of you into the reality, into the multiverse. You don't control all of it with your conscious mind. There is a lot of things in your energetic field that are not within your scope of control yet. You can learn to control them. Perhaps you don't even realize. So when people think about manifestations, they sometimes literally come from this point that, oh, my thoughts create my reality. If it was only that simple, there's so much more than your thoughts. And by the way, what affects your thoughts? So there's not just your thoughts, your body itself holds for certain signature, certain frequency. If there's trauma, this pain, your nervous system reacts to certain situations which alert you to certain, perhaps even positive outcomes, being like a danger. So there's all the ancestral patterns and karmic patterns, and we'll explore that. But I just want to give you a little example in reality how it can work. How sometimes, even though on a conscious level, you may desire more money, more harmony in your relationships, more adventures, actually, your whole body and your whole system may not even be ready for it. I remember a situation over a year ago when I was in the only shopping center in our country, in Costa Rica. We only have one big one. I mean, yeah, maybe there's another one.
That's 6 hours away.
That's 6 hours away. So, after months living in our jungle paradise, we emerged out and we went some Christmas shopping, and I literally felt like a kid at Christmas. And there was a shop, there is a shop, which is by a famous designer with dresses with price tags like over $1,000 per dress. And they're absolutely beautiful. They're like a work of art. And you know what? I walked into that shop and I could literally feel my whole energy just contracting. Just this kind of ball of tension. It's almost like I don't belong here. So even though perhaps my desire would be to put a beautiful dress and not even consider a price tag, my energy signature is like, you don't belong there. This is not the price. This is what maybe the salary in your home country per month is, and all of that stuff. So why am I reacting like that? Why is my body reacting like that? Why is my nervous system reacting
Why
like
do you
that?
have those limiting beliefs, right? Because that's basically what it is. It's a limiting belief.
Why do I not deserve it?
Absolutely.
Dressed like that, you know.
That's the nervous system and the body, but we also have what's going on in our energetic fields, right? And essentially, what could be happening is how this links back nicely to manifestation. Is you can have all the vision boards in the world. Every single wall in your house can be made up with a vision board, and it can be pictures of your houses and whatever it is that you're trying to call into your life. And you can be manifesting every day, and you can be following the principles of the secrets and the law of attraction, and maybe the teachings of a whole industry that sprung up around manifestation. But the reality is, if your energetic field and the stuff within it is preventing you from coming in resonance with your highest trajectory or what you're trying to call in, you're never going to call it in. And so how many of you watching this video have tried manifesting and either it doesn't work or it's hit and miss? And I tell you something, the things that do tend to work tend to be the low-hanging fruit. So it's the small things that you can manifest, because there's not much of a change in energetic signature. The more sort of outlandish the dream, or the more kind of expansive the vision, let's put it like that, that's a nice thing, the more expansive your vision, the higher its frequency signature. And so if your field is full of clutter, ancestral patterns, pain and trauma, karmic patterns, distorted subconscious programming, we can talk about that a little bit, all of this stuff which affects your frequency signature, it doesn't matter. You can have a zillion vision boards and you can feel it real till the cows come home. It's never gonna fly for you. And that is the missing pieces of this jigsaw puzzle. And I think it just, when we start to apply these missing pieces to this manifestation work, this is really when it starts to fly.
So what I want you to think about really is not law of attraction, but as I've heard once, law of subtraction. So rather than adding things into your energy field,
take away the things which are standing in your way, all the mess.
So let me paint a picture for you. Long time ago, we used to run a renovation building company. And one of the things we used to do, we would have like a full house renovation. And we would literally, what would be the first thing? We would just rip everything apart. There was 2 days, we would send all the lads, they would just take all tiles,
bathroom, kitchen, everything ripped out, and just we'd be left with a shell, a blank canvas.
And that's exactly where you need to go, because you can't, let's say, put a new bathroom in the house or put a new kitchen if they're all on top of the old one. I mean, you can try. Some people do that DIY with it, paint over the tiles or like, but it's still the old. It's still not the new. So if your vision is not just a little veneer on top of the kind of current reality, then first you need to rip out what's there and what there shouldn't be there. And by rip out, I mean energetically. I don't mean that, get divorced, kick your children out of the house and say that to your boss. No, not that.
And ripping out is just kind of, but we do it, when we do the energetic work, it's actually gently, and we do it carefully and safely. But it's just a term that kind of, speaks about clearing your field. It's kind of, we were speaking about renovations. You'd rip stuff out of the house. You wouldn't rip stuff out of your field. But
no, actually don't do it, because
do it gently, basically.
Yeah, that we speak about it a little bit. When it comes to energetics, it's a polar opposite of building works. It is a very, very delicate art. And one of the things we can tell you straight away, do not ever break patterns. That's another thing that
knowledge in the field.
Yes. So personal development industry often talks about breaking generational patterns. And, I don't know, maybe your parents or grandparents grew up in scarcity. I'm going for abundance. I'm going to be doing something completely different. This is where reality starts resisting, because we have not acknowledged all the pains, all the struggles, and all the information that has been already stored in your energy field. And I think it's super, super important never to break patterns. Always release them, always acknowledge them. When we work with our clients, we always do things in a way that honors the ancestry, that honors the culture, that honors the background. And yes, we are transforming. Yes, we are unplugging maybe from collective grids, but it's always done with gratitude and with respect.
And with grace.
and with grace. So that's just a little kind of sideline here. But okay, what do we actually need to delete from the field in order to, well, make way for all the abundance upgrades, which we'll be talking about in a second?
Nice question. I can tell you right now. So what we need to delete from our field is anything.
Like a list.
Yes, it's anything which is standing in the way of your highest frequency signature. Because again, it's this principle: control your energy, control your reality. Your reality changes. Your highest timeline or trajectory has a frequency signature. It's about your frequency signature being here, doing that, so it's in perfect resonance, and then the universe magnetizes it towards you. It's that simple. So what do we need to do to make sure that you do that? Okay, so we need to remove everything in the field. What could be in the field? So we can start off nice big fat subjects of pain and trauma. Okay, so everybody goes through sort of stuff in your life which has upset you, which has hurt you. No, I'm not talking about ancestral healing. That's something slightly separate. I'm talking about the stuff you've been through since you were in childhood, right? Or nothing from the past life. This is just this lifetime.
Maybe I'll add to it, not even childhood, because sometimes the stuff happens even when we're still in the womb. So
yeah,
kind of in the current incarnation, let's say.
Yeah, okay. So let's say let's say we've got an embryo, and let's say a soul has been attached to a beautiful baby that's growing in there from the point that you're created. Okay, so, not technically after you're born, it could be in the womb, as Ria's just said. But it goes right back, okay? So, there's every single time you go through something which is tough, and it sucks, and you have your heart broken, or you get betrayed, or you feel abandoned, or yada, yada, yada. We basically accumulate pain and trauma frequency, and our organs, okay, energetically are like big sponges for this frequency, and we store it like a big database of pain frequency of stuff that we go through. I wish it wasn't the case, but it is. That's just how it is. So what we would need to do, and this obviously drags down your overall energetic signature. It's like a big lead weight hanging off your ankles of stuff from the past. Now, you can't change the past, but what you can do is to release the legacy of the past, which is this pain.
And by the way, if you want to see all the ins and outs on how to do it, there is a separate episode, if you haven't watched this, called How to Do Shadow Work. Check this out. We talk about this part of healing. So anything in this current incarnation. So we are not going to go into detail of how to do it. In this episode, check the other one out. You have all the details. But one thing that I want to add to it is that apart from all the pain and trauma, that sometimes causes some energetic protection mechanisms to fire away. So it's not just that you have experienced pain and trauma, because there's also a secondary ripple effect of pain and trauma, which is your current psyche, your current mind and energy field is trying to protect you from experiencing that pain ever again. So for example, if you have ever been ridiculed publicly, and it doesn't matter whether it happened to you because you were dancing at a family fiesta when you were 5 years old and some other kids or your cousins were laughing at you, or whether some teacher pulled you into the classroom and you felt stupid because you didn't know the answer, that is the current version of reality, and the pain and trauma from that may be something kind of minute, but perhaps that fired a distorted way of programming where I'm not going to show on a camera, or I'm not going to ever speak my mind at work, because if I speak at a meeting or in front of people on a webinar or something, then someone's going to laugh and put me down. So you don't think about that, but that's what you do. Somehow there's this magic resistance you have against, let's say, speaking your mind or speaking in public or whatever. So that's just a simple example. But of course, those energetic patterns are very intricate and they don't always run that straight. And now let's go to another layer, which is your ancestry. Because you know what? It did not all energetically start when you were in your mom's womb. It started way, way, way before. You've been born into a family, and that family's got a history. And your ancestors, I'm pretty sure, have been through a lot of tough things, a lot of experiences of loss, perhaps poverty, perhaps war, perhaps famine, that you may not be completely aware of, but it's still encoded in your energy field. And this is where it gets interesting, because when people do this personal development, they go as deep as perhaps childhood. But then there is a next level, which is the womb, and then there's a next level, which is the ancestry. And we find from our personal experience working with clients, when you start uncovering ancestral patterns, something that your energy field has learned, which is safe, what is unsafe, and sometimes it's not just that simple, sometimes it's more complicated. This is where our clients have the biggest breakthroughs, and this is where we've had the biggest breakthroughs manifesting our timeline of abundance.
Absolutely. So that's one example. Another example could be, as Ria's mentioned, is ancestral patterns. There could be karmic patterns in there. Another big one, which you might not have considered, is distorted subconscious programming. I'll talk about that just quickly. This is one of the most powerful, removing this and rewiring your subconscious is one of the most powerful abundance modalities ever. It's the deepest work you can do in your subconscious, and it's holding you back. So within your field right now, you have millions of subconscious programmings running on autopilot all the time. So if I was to come up to you and I would say to you, whatever your name is, what's your favorite music album or favorite band? Probably if you're into music, you wouldn't need to think about it, bang, it comes to you. It's an automatic program. If you went into Starbucks, other coffee chains are available, always support independent businesses, not chains, but however, if you went into a coffee shop and you had a coffee that you would normally have in the mornings and the server said, what coffee would you like? You wouldn't even think, you could be half asleep, you'd reel it off and it would go. That's an automatic subconscious programming. You've got millions sitting in there that formulate your reality. So what can happen is, a random example, let's say you've got a soul that has had, in this lifetime, had their heart broken, 3, 4, 5 times. And it's gut-wrenching every time. If you've ever experienced heartbreak, it physically hurts. So you've been through that 4 or 5 times. So sort of distorted subconscious programming in relation to what somebody has been through might be something along the lines of, I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving. The next time I meet somebody and I open up my heart to them, I'm going to have my heart broken. And what this does, it feeds this distorted perception because of what we've been through, which calls it a distorted version of reality, because it's not actually the truth. What it is a distortion, and it's a distorted, sort of corrupted programming. And so what we would need to do is to dig into, or you could do, is to dig into your belief systems around what you've been through and really start to do the deepest work and rewire your subconscious.
So let me add something to it. The clue is actually finding out the root cause of it.
Yep.
Because that distorted programming can, of course, be based, like in this example, on your current lifetime. But sometimes that distorted programming is not based on any experience that you have been through and you remember. Sometimes that distorted programming is based on something from your past life. And that's when it gets tricky, because you have to go to the root cause. And until you discover why, then you will not be able to gracefully release and rewire. So always look for root cause. Sometimes, perhaps, again, the same example, you are emanating an energy signature where every romantic partner you attract is going to be someone who's going to cause you a heartbreak. And you think, well, why did that happen? And then you look, oh, my mother actually had the same program. She was doing that. She had her heart broken. Or maybe even my grandmother had some huge event where, like in my family, there was something along the lines of one of the family members 3 generations ago, she had a love of her life that she ran away because her mum wanted her to marry some other boy. And it was like something like that creates an energetic load and then kind of, runs through the generations, and something like that can be affecting you. And this is a little bit of it takes a bit of an upgrade in your way of thinking, because if you have been through manifestation programs, if you have been just through personal development, you will be looking only as deep as your current experience. But your soul wasn't born yesterday. Your soul's been around the block for many lifetimes, so it could be something past life. And also look in the context of your ancestry, because it can go also there.
When we actually move into this new earth, it's going to be a completely different way of living. It's always darkest before the dawn. Love and hope are one of the strongest frequencies there are. You came here for much more than this. The biggest blessing ever. It's just incredible, but we need to go through a change because we've all been born into this system. Imagine your life which is completely loved. Imagine your life which is creative. Imagine a life which is completely guided. Imagine your life creating through flow, which is completely abundant on every level. Imagine a life which is joyful, radiant, healthy, and exciting.
These are sort of the missing pieces of what's missing from teachings from The Secret, teachings from the Law of Attraction. And this is why you show me anybody in life whose manifestations are 100% without practicing this whole thing. It's not the case. And so what there's a whole industry that's blown up, and there's just perpetual clients because people are thinking, well, okay, I did this program, or maybe I just didn't get something quite right. Maybe I'm just missing this. And then there's a new spin on it comes out. And people are constantly chasing this thing, but with big ingredients of this overall sort of recipe that's needed for success that's completely missing. And the reality is, folks, if you apply what we're saying to you in this video alongside, you marry it in with the manifestation, so you're feeling it real and all of this kind of stuff, that's when the magic's going to happen. And what happens is, like I say, you've then removed all of the blocks, all of the obstructions to your frequency signature, doing this, and then the universe magnetizing whatever it is that you're trying to call in. So let's say you've cleared your field, right? So let's say you've done the work.
By the way, can I just add to it? We only gave you 3 main examples. That's subconscious programming, ancestral patterns, karmic patterns. There's a lot more. Where when we kind of do our client work, there is many more layers. So one of the things is collective consciousness of a particular country. So there's collective imprints. There could be religious imprints. There could be seals, such as a J seal. So
there's
also really deep.
It's all subjective, and you know, there isn't a cookie cutter approach because it just depends on what's in your field. And you know, this is something we specialize in an annual program we run called Transcendent Dimensions, and this is our flagship program. It's a 6-month process, and what we do within that is quite simple. It's based on what we went through, and you know, it took us a long time, but you know, after we've been through that. And all of the modalities in there are totally unique and unique to Transcendent Dimensions. And in one of those is channeling galactic frequency to heal pain and trauma, amongst lots of other things. And the principle is we basically clear your field completely through what we were speaking about there. Take it down so we clear the decks, and then we start to build you up with things like 5D abundance frequency. And we really start to work on changing your energy and bringing you in line. And then sort of the last 2 months of the program are total energetic mastery and embodiment of that frequency, because, you know, within the program, we want to create lasting change with people. So we don't want it to be a flash in the pan. So you get a flash of your highest timeline and then you're yo-yoing like this. We want you to be able to hold the frequency. So it's called the embodiment. We run that every year. We'll link it down below. We're about to start in January 2024 for 2024's version. So if you're interested, check that out.
Yeah. However, the principle of this program is that you have to descend in order to ascend. Yeah. We even call the phases of it. And, you know, whether you join us on the program, whether you go on this journey yourself, you're not going to escape the process. If you really want to ascend, you need to first descend into these tangly bits that are there and start looking at this kind of releasing and puff. And then this is what most people kind of prefer, the manifestation, because it's like, it's so easy. I'm just going to sit and visualize myself and, you know, with this beautiful scenery and
stuff. You don't want to clean the house up, do you? Nobody wants to have to do that work, because, you know, everybody wants the sexy stuff, which is like, you know, open up my consciousness. I want a transcendental experience. I'm just going to focus on the good, and the bad doesn't exist. But the fact is, unless you cleared your field, you're carrying legacies from the past within their
And, you know, the problem is that sometimes those higher dimensions and those high consciousness experiences and visualization almost becomes like an escape from actually doing the work. And I believe that both of these things, like we mentioned before, really help you manifest that highest abundance timeline. But you have to do both. You have to do both. And I would say what comes first, and that's why when we do it, that's how we structure our client sessions, that's how we structure our program. First, clean the decks, and then start building it up. So I remember one renovation that we got called in where a guy was doing a rewire of a house after he put a carpet, and that was an absolute disaster.
I was wondering why his carpets were messy. There we go. But it's, you know, you have to do certain things in certain orders, don't you? You know, and one of the things to realize is, think of this is, if you're building a house, just think of it in easy terms. What do you put in first? You know, what do they put in first? They put the foundations in, right? If you were just to try and build on top of land without foundations, you know, the first time you get a storm or a bit of rain, probably it's going to go and fall down.
And that's how most people's manifestation journeys look. They winning little battles, like you say, the low-hanging.
Yeah, the little changes.
Oh yeah, I manifested $100 that found somewhere on the street. Amazing, but how long does that want to stretch?
We're talking about your highest, most abundant, happiest timeline. You know, is your highest, be honest here, you know, is your highest, most abundant timeline manifesting $100? Is it really? Like, you know, that's what's that? If you're in Australia watching this, that's probably a bag of shopping in Coles or Woolies, isn't it? But, you know, when you look at inflation and stuff, so $100, this is low-hanging fruit, low-hanging wins. And I just put that in as a bit of humor. I'm sort of jesting with that. But, you know, if we're actually looking to call in something which is kind of a big vision, and we've got big goals and big dreams, then we've got to make big changes to our own frequency. It's logic. I know we speak, you know, this is metaphysical and it's consciousness, and we're talking about energy, and it's kind of, you know, it's all magical. However, within the sort of metaphysical world, there's still logic that has to apply to this stuff. You know, this is where, when things are illogical, they don't quite fly. And so this is all about making it logical and making sure it all makes sense.
With all that being said, all that cleaning the house, etc., there comes the bit where you're going to put your beautiful decorations and where there is some cool stuff to do. And that's when you can start visualizing. That's when you can start quantum jumping. And that's also where your energy field will be ready to grab and grasp beautiful galactic frequencies that can be channeled to enhance your own frequency signature. They call light codes or galactic codes or frequency upgrades. And this is a modality that we often use too. We call it consciousness technology because that's what it is. There's no light there. The consciousness. It is
frequency.
It's frequency. So, you know, I channel that in form of light languages. Aaron channels in just form of consciousness, like a Jedi kind of wizard. Yeah. But basically, these energies can almost like reprogram you to a different frequency band. And every galactic star nation have their own specialism, but they also have their own understanding of abundance. So abundance, according to, let's say, Lyran felines, is slightly different than abundance according to Arcturians. And is also different than abundance in the Lemurian or Andromedas. They all have the different pieces of that cake. And, you know, we often, during our free training, share different codes, not just abundance, but sometimes healing, sometimes relationships, sometimes synchronicity. You can check even stuff on this channel. There is, I don't know, light language to open your third eye or something like that. But bottom line is that until your field is really ready, when you kind of actually did some of the clearing work that's needed, that frequency has more of a chance to actually take root and start bearing fruit. Because if I blast you today with codes of abundance from Arcturians, etc., but you still have ancestral patterns, you still have karmic patterns that you don't even realize, then probably that will give you a bit of a respite and relief.
Are you going to get the full effects of it?
No, not long term. So I think this is a limitation, and I would love to say that if I do a light language transmission, that it will completely, everything will be right. But I just see that this is an overall part of the picture. So for example, in Transcendent Dimensions, when we do this 6-month program, yes, we use galactic frequencies, but alongside all the other consciousness work.
We've cleared everybody's fields, isn't it?
Yes.
So that's why the first stage is so important. But the first stage, the most important stage, putting the foundations in, that, if you think in terms of building an analogy, it's messy and it's uncomfortable, and, it's physical work. There's a lot of heavy lifting goes into that, when from a consciousness perspective, it's a lot of heavy lifting and a lot of heavy work, but it's absolutely necessary. And I say to people that we work with, go into it with your eyes open, because, it is going to challenge you emotionally, because a lot of the stuff from the past, you're going to have to feel again. When I sort of facilitate healing with people, I wish it was different. I wish I could feel it for people and people wouldn't have to feel it again. But if somebody's been through it, when you're feeling it, you're healing it. So when it's lifting up out of the organs and coming, you're actually feeling those emotions again. And that's why it can be tough, because some of the stuff from the past, which has been locked away, suddenly comes up and people have to face it again. And so when we go through the process with these people, that's why we fully support people along that journey, and people feel guided and people feel supported. But it's important that people realize that, it's not all rainbows and unicorns, and it's tough. The first little bit is tough.
But it's worth it. Another thing that can happen, which is quite common, and please expect it. If you're doing this journey on your own, we're just wanting to prepare you for what you can expect, so you don't think that something is going wrong, because there will be this state where you kind of have to almost like, it will feel like you're taking a step back rather than step forward. And sometimes your physical body, after you subtracting things from your field, will feel extremely tired. Because this whole kind of thing is rewiring in the background.
You just feel drained.
You just feel drained, so you have to allow yourself to it. Emotional things that come up from your past is one aspect. Another aspect that happens quite commonly that nobody speaks about: anger at your ancestors. Oh my goodness me! When you start seeing that maybe something that your grandfather did 57 years ago has resulted in, I don't know, some kind of setback to your finances or to your health today, you could literally, if that grandfather was in front of you, feel like you could have punched him. Like, why did you do that? Why did you layer me with this?
Caveat, she wouldn't. She's just saying, illustrate.
I don't know. My
never punched anybody.
I've never punched anybody. But
you know what I'm saying.
My grandfather was quite a playboy, and he really never grew up. And I loved him dearly. He was just a bit of a playboy. My grandfather.
I think you just mean that you can get really frustrated.
You get really frustrated. Why did you kind of give me this energetic inheritance? Why couldn't I have it easier, like X, Y, and Z? Sometimes you get angry at your country of origins. I'm from Eastern Europe. I was like, and that's one of kind of this work of actually finding the gratitude, finding the respect, and understanding that, for example, like the said grandfather, yes, he was a playboy. Yes, he never grew up. Yes, he made tons of silly decisions. But that's because when he was 19, my grandmother got pregnant, and he was all of a sudden put into a role as a father that he wasn't ready for. He didn't want it. It just happened.
It was like an obligation.
Like an obligation. And then that kind of...
It was like, back in those days, it was about doing the right thing. So, if, at the time, your grandmother was pregnant, then, the right thing to do was to marry and support. But that wasn't hard desire, was it?
So yeah, things like that happens. And I think understanding and acknowledging that is actually a really big step to your journey of abundance. So just to sum it up, if before watching this video you thought that your highest timeline of abundance is just about you manifesting, you visualizing, we hate to break it to you, but actually in order to manifest abundance, you will have to do some dirty, introspective, investigative type of work. But goodness me, you're going to have fun.
It is so worth it. And, like I say, these have been the missing pieces of the manifestation puzzle. And the principle is simple. Master energy, change your reality. You literally need to change your energy to come in line with whatever it is that you're trying to call in, and the universe will magnetize it to you. So again, when you're looking at your own life holistically, don't forget, go back through this, make some notes as you go through it if you need to. Don't forget to save the video. Hope you subscribe to the channel. We do love your support. Thank you very much for being here. And again, the link to Transcendent Dimensions, if you want to check that out, that's a 6-month program. We want to run once a year for 6 months. We are starting in January 2024 and 2024.
Yeah,
edition.
if you're watching this video later, then
There's a waiting list.
there's a waiting list for 2025 probably. But either way, if you have any questions also about manifestation, about energy work, about ancestral patterns, anything we covered in this video that perhaps sparkled some interest, pop them in the comments. I will try to go through them and respond to every single one.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed the video. And like I say, catch you on the next one. Take care of yourselves. Work on yourselves. Change your energy. Change your life. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Architects of Destiny podcast. Be sure to subscribe and we will see you on the next episode.
What would your most abundant life look like? You have to get really intimate and introspective with your own energetic field and with your ancestors and with your soul. The greatest energetic shifts that translate to immediate changes in physical reality come from deactivating and from letting go. It's activating your soul's essence, your highest expression, your most abundant, beautiful timeline means deactivating layers of conditioning, stopping your full potential.